Hello everyone, I'm Day Weather, meteorologist on Day with your Public Lands Council weekly video update for this Saturday, November 6, 2021. It's being brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors and WSR Insurance Services Incorporated. As we take a look at the next week to 10 days ahead, what does Mother Nature have in store for the western United States? Well, these are the highlights. There's more water coming, more rain and snow coming to the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, parts of central and northern California, into Idaho, and parts of the northern Rockies. You're going to get more rain and snow, some good snow in the high country and lower elevation rainfall, so that's good news for those folks. But east of there, it's generally going to be a pretty mild weather pattern this weekend into early next week for most of the western United States with above average temperatures. Just a cool, wet pattern in the northwest, generally dry and mild elsewhere through early next week. Now, by the middle to the end of next week, things will change. One thing we're definitely seeing, it's a drier trend for the desert Southwest and also the southern Rockies. It looks like the Great Basin and the southern Rockies and the southern plains kind of missing out on this recent spell of wetter weather that we've had since of October, and that'll continue. By the middle to the end of next week, that's when a wet, cooler pattern will develop in some areas of the west. So as we get into that Wednesday through Friday time frame, do expect some changes. Now, the long-term trends look colder by the end of November and into early December. While we've had some episodes of cold to the west, we really haven't had a shot of really, really cold Canadian air yet. I think that's going to change. As we look at the last 10 days of November into early December, we're seeing some signs that colder weather could be in the future as we get to the end of the month. Over the last week, this is where the rain has fallen. You can see the Midwest and the Corn Belt really wet, as well as the eastern half of the nation. But we continue to see that there's been, in the last week, more precipitation in the Pacific Northwest across the northern Rockies. As we mentioned, the southern areas here not doing nearly as well with precipitation, as the storm track has been more up here. And that's really how it's going to continue here for at least the next week or so. If you were to look at the precipitation anomalies, only this small area here in the west had above average precipitation, with near average in the white or slightly below average in those brown colors there. But if you look at the drought monitor, yeah, there's a lot of red and brown and yellow there. However, for the second week in a row, we can show you some change maps that show improving weather. In parts of the high plains and Rockies, all these green areas, these little islands of green, show class 1 improvement in the drought status. This was really good news here for northwest Colorado that is really, really dry. Good to see that they got some moisture, and they should have some more coming by mid to late in the week. Also, many areas of Wyoming, South Dakota as well. In the western areas, southern Idaho, northern Utah, up along the panhandle of Idaho, then back into parts of the Pacific Northwest, another area of drought improvement. And you can see here, northwest Washington State has actually been so wet here over the last several weeks that they have moved out of any drought status conditions. Now, as we take a look, what's coming? First of all, this is a map for Saturday. Saturday shows the jet stream at a west to east flow across most of the nation. And what that'll do is bring mild Pacific air into the western United States. But the Pacific Northwest will be assaulted by a cold, moist jet stream wind. So this is why Washington, Oregon, and Northern California will be wet. Some moisture will streak eastward out from there, but will mainly affect the northern Rockies Sunday night into Monday, while mild elsewhere. And this is going to continue to be true here in the desert Southwest. By Wednesday and Thursday of next week, notice a change. Instead of low pressure hitting the west coast, it's high pressure, and we have this large trough in the nation's midsection. So that's going to open the door to colder air coming in out of Canada. While there's going to be areas of rain and snow developing in this area right here as we get into the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday timeframe of next week. So Montana, Wyoming, parts of Colorado, and parts of the Dakotas, you're going to get a little wet out of this storm. But again, central and southern California and the southwestern U.S. going to miss out. But there's going to be a change in the weather to colder, wet conditions by mid to late in the week. This is what the next 10 days looks like for precipitation. Anywhere you see a yellow, that means an inch or more. Blue means a half to 3/4 of an inch. As you get into those darker red colors, you're talking about 2 inches or more. So you can see how well central and northern California and west of the Cascades in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to do very well. Unfortunately, we've got a pretty good rain shadow east of the Sierra Nevada and the Cascades. But you're going to see a continuation of some good snowpack buildup in the northern Rockies and the Pacific Northwest. So the snowpack is going to continue to get a little bit of a boost. Now, out here on the plains in northeastern Wyoming, eastern Montana, and the Dakotas, this could be an area where there could be some snow falling midweek with that change in the weather. And the dryness continues down here, and we think this will continue in this area for at least another week to two. Snowfall-wise, you can see that the snow getting more common. And while we don't see a big storm on this weather chart, what we do see is snowpack building in the Rockies and some areas out on the plains right here getting a little bit of snowfall with those colder temperatures midweek. Now I want to show you long term because this is where we're starting to look at maybe some things changes. What I'm showing you is a map of the entire northern hemisphere for Friday, November 19th. So about 2 weeks from now. As you can see, all the blue here, I'm showing you a map that represents the air at 18,000 feet, or what we call 500 millibars. And this is where the jet stream is going to follow, just like this. This shows the ridges, the troughs, the low pressure systems across the northern hemisphere. All this blue and this gray shows some really, really cold air. What's important to show you for the western United States is that as we get around the 19th or the 20th of November, we may see high pressure build in the eastern Pacific, which what this does is it's like opening the door. Imagine that's a door to Canada. This type of pattern just allows that door to swing open and cold air to come south into the lower 48. This is why we're thinking the end of the month into early December could be trending much colder. And we're seeing that not only at 18,000 feet, but high in the stratosphere, we see a stratospheric warming event. And what that does is that also helps make it very easy for cold air to escape the high latitudes and head south. So while November is off to a relatively mild start, it may not end that way, and stock growers are going to want to keep an eye on the weather towards the end of November into early December. And of course, with our weekly weather blast, we'll keep you updated on that. The new 30-day outlook is showing through December 30th a trend towards cooler weather here. Now, we do see much above average temperatures right here with only below average temperatures down here. I just talked about cold air coming, and it will. Thing is that a lot of this warmth that the maps are showing will be over the next 2 weeks. Remember, this is a map that shows 30 days total. So there's likely going to be a different looking map that we show you next week. Precipitation-wise, we continue to have a good pattern for the northern Rockies and the Pacific Northwest here to pick up above normal precipitation. Continue to be concerned about dryness continuing to grow in those southern and southwest areas. Our next update will be next Saturday, November 13th. Have a good week ahead, everyone.